such a Sangha out of compassion for the sake of this assembly and all living beings. Please turn the wonderful Dharma wheel to teach and guide us how to end birth and death, leave suffering and attain bliss, and quickly realize non-birth. Cung thính đại đức tặng thịnh, vì thứ pháp hồi cấp nhất thiết chúng sanh, tinh chuyên diệu pháp luân giao đạo ngã môn, như há liêu sanh thoát tư ly khổ đắc lạc, tốc chứng vô sanh. Homage to the Blessed, Noble, and Perfectly Enlightened One. Nam mô Saranto Suchedo Ye Elahadi San Miao San Puto Che. Nam mô Tarakta Toya Daya Alahade Tamyev Tambo Da Doa. The unsurpassed, profound, subtle, and wonderful Dharma in 100,000 million aeons is difficult to encounter. Now that I'm able to see and hear, I vow I will receive and maintain it. I vow to fathom the thus come one's true and actual principles. Wu shang sheng she wei miao fa bai qian wan jie na zhao yu, wo jian jian wen de shou chi yan jie ru lai zhe shi yi. O Buddhists and Bodhisattvas, Venerable Huideng, Venerable Xianhua, Venerable Love Home people, and all good knowing advisors, Emituofo. Chư Phật Bồ Tát, kính thưa Lục Tổ, Hòa Thượng Thiện Hóa, quý thầy cô và quý vị thiện tri thức A Di Đà Phật. Chư Phật Bồ Tát, Liu Zu, Sư Phụ Sang Rần, Cơ Wei Chu Cha Rần, Cơ Wei Sang Chư Sư, Emituofo. Thank you all for joining us. Today is the 24th of January 2021. We are gathered to continue investigating the 6th Patriarch Sutra. We are towards the end of chapter 8. I'm not sure which slide number, but all I remember vaguely is that the thing that I like to start out with is to express my gratitude for the research that has been done on a good no advisor. It's a very important concept that the guiding light for good things that happen in your life is from your good no advisor. It happened to me through my master, Master Xuan, and I'm very grateful for that. And the research that was provided to me last week on this concept of good no advisor was extremely, extremely enlightening to me. It opened my eyes. You don't realize it, but when I was practicing on my own, I had very limited materials to work with. I copied materials, but only primarily based my knowledge on Master Xuanhua's English translations, and now to have a lot of Chinese disciples and supporters who provide me, who can help me do research on the excellent Chinese resources, materials from the great sages. It's just so wonderful. So I'm very grateful for that. So keep it up, okay? In particular, last weekend, we discussed the concept of good no advisor. It's so much more to talk about, which is we don't have time to talk about it. So would you mind preparing the slides for that? These the 7 characteristics from the Vinaya. Okay, that's from the teachings from Shakyamuni Buddha. You see, the Buddha himself deemed as so important of a concept, he actually taught us about it. Okay, so it's wonderful that we can know whether we know about that. And so please extract that in the future. We do that, we talk more about that, and 1 slide per item, so we can do translation and so forth. The preface would be the general qualities of a good no advisors, or basically number 1, this person is proper, teaches a proper Dharma. Number 2 is straightforward. Number 3 is a virtuous person. Okay? And then follow that with those teachings from the Buddha in our Vinaya. All right? And have someone translate for that. And we correct the translations later. It's a very good information, excellent information that I don't think the Chinese have a clear understanding of what good no advisor is anymore. So let's make it turn it into English knowledge, English-based knowledge. But in general, if you want to really investigate Mahayana, then I strongly urge you to invest time in learning Chinese, okay? Especially Sanghas, my disciples, those are following me. If you want in one day to no longer have to rely on me, then you have to be able to read the Chinese sources, the original teachings from the sages and from the Buddhas. That's where the superior wisdom still is. So there's no substitute for that. People who don't understand Chinese are limited to the English translation and English explanations, and most of the time, the English materials quality is quite low, honestly. Okay. For example, I'm going to offend a lot of people, but the Master's translation into English, that when it comes to Dharma doors, it's low level. They cannot understand the high level. So that's why, even with the translation, you still have to go back to the Chinese sources to make sure that when it comes to actual Dharma doors, you have to be able to understand what they are before you translate. So when you don't, you really mess up the things, the translations. Just the way it is. It's still better than nothing. But my point being that when you get to a higher level, you realize that the English translation is still lacking, still is subpar, unfortunately. What my Master's disciples did, what Master Xuan did, is to set the platform, the basis for translation. So they developed the jargon, the technical terms, but in terms of translating Master Xuanhua's advanced Dharma doors, you don't understand what they are. How are you going to translate? Okay, so that's the way it is. Even so, if you want to liberate yourself to surpass Master Xuanhua's level, then you have to go to the Chinese materials. Okay? And so it's fun. It's fun for me. It's a real, I feel very blessed to be able to get your support so that you provide me these materials that for me to further my understanding of this profound and wonderful Mahayana Dharma that our Buddha, our fundamental teacher, taught us. Okay, we're supposed to be at 269. Okay, let me see, where were we? Okay, yeah, we discussed Sheng Hui, and that's enough. I think we have enough of Sheng Hui. He's a pretty good level, but I don't think his Dharma is that good. Personally, I would not want to study under him. Personally, it would be a waste of time for me. So I'm not impressed. Okay, and it's not a surprise that his Dharma lasted for 150 years and eventually disappeared, because the reason it disappeared is for twofold. Number one, he doesn't quite understand Master Huineng's Dharma yet. Number two, he cannot transfer his knowledge to the next generation. So you have a low-level understanding, plus it degenerates from generation to generation, because like Master Xuanhua, in order for him to propagate Mahayana, he must be able to transfer his knowledge to my generation, or make sure that the knowledge is not lost in our generation, my generation. Okay. Otherwise, Mahayana can no longer expand, can no longer increase its scope and breadth. You see? So similarly, in my generation, we need to make sure that your generation is ready and is capable of receiving the transfer of knowledge. And that's why I keep on stressing to all of you, learn Chinese. There's no substitute for that. Those teachers who don't understand Chinese are doomed to limit themselves to only English materials. That's the way it is. Okay? Because right now, Chinese material is still much deeper than English-based materials. Even though it's the case, the Chinese no longer understand their Chinese heritage. So we have to take over. That's why we have to learn Chinese. If we learn Chinese, we read the Chinese, we'll be able to understand. Okay? So similarly, you notice, for example, I started explaining the 6th Patriarch Sutra. I started at the same level as Master Xuanhua. And then eventually you notice I ratcheted it up because you improved. I cannot, the Dharma is spoken for the listeners. All right, we are 269, Sutra Text. The Master saw many disciples of other schools, all with evil intentions, gathered beneath his seat to ask him difficult questions.
师见诸中难问，显起恶心，多即坐下。
270 is a commentary from Master Xuanhua. And only the Shengxiu's party want to murder the great master, but those of other sects, such as the consciousness-only school, the scholars know it as Yogacara school, That's the two major schools in India. One is Yogacara, which is consciousness-only school. So they and the other school is Madhyamika school, which is middle way school. So these are two prevalent schools that dominate Indian Buddhism back then. Madhyamika school is based on Nagarjuna's teachings, the Patriarch teachings. And consciousness school, only school, also are based on several important papers from India, and they were transmitted to China as well. And so these came to ask the master difficult questions. These consciousness-only school are scholars. They read the theories, but they fail to have the training technology to understand those papers. So they stuck with the wording, with the phrasing, instead of understanding the real meaning behind the words. Okay? So it's no surprise that these consciousness-only school, Wei Shi Zong, okay? Consciousness only is Wei Shi. Wei is only, Shi is consciousness. School. Someone sent a text, the Koreans, the Wei Shi Zong characters, so that they can translate it properly. Yi to Kop in Vietnamese. Okay? Many Vietnamese scholars, scholarly monks, they try to impress their followers by saying they're specialized in the consciousness-only school, because it's one of very theoretical and very advanced school. Okay, the papers are very difficult to understand, so that's why no one really understands it, including those people who specialize in the consciousness-only schools, researching those papers. Okay, they really, I listened to one so-called specialist, consciousness-only school Vietnamese master here in Southern California. He's known in our community as a foremost specialist. And I even went to listen to his lecture on one occasion over 10 years ago. And first of all, his level is only first stage Arhat. First stage Arhat, he's incapable of understanding consciousness only principles, theories. It's not possible for them to understand. It's not possible for Hinayana level people to understand Mahayana level materials, period. Okay? So first of all, look at the person and say, okay, so you can't understand what you're talking about. Let's see how much you really do understand after researching the words. And I listened for half an hour. I couldn't take it. I had to stand up and walk out because it's all garbage. These intellectuals, they synthesize, they try to put, one paper concept, the concept in one paper to the next and so forth to come up with something else. That's what intellectuals people do. They don't know what they're doing. Buddhism, Buddhist principles, unfortunately, cannot be synthesized. That's what the scholars still don't get. For a scholar to put together a principle from a sutra with another sutra, that's where they fail miserably. That's what I found out so far. Okay, except for one scholar, which is level is not a typical scholar level. most of the scholars who are, recognized by academia are not able to understand, don't have the depth, because they don't have enough samadhi power to penetrate the words. Words are useful, but they also lead to misinterpretations. Okay? Unless you are no longer attached to words, then you can't transcend the limitations of words. So that's why Heze, for example, you go back to, we are currently at slide 270. Go back to slide 267 to 66, like 263, he says, they claim Sheng Hui, the founder, the 7th Patriarch, emphasizes his Dharma is no thought. And then his advocates, his descendants said, then the word no is the word of all onefulness. This is a contradiction to no thought. To know is a thought. Okay? So these people, they're confused. And he puts emphasis on view liberation. There's no need for that. Okay? And so these people, they choose the big words to impress people. They don't understand the depth of the Chan that Master Huineng taught them. Okay? Even though they were there, they couldn't understand what he really wanted to teach, because the level is too low. If your samadhi level is low, you can listen to the Dharma until the end of time, you still can't get it. So that's why in the Chan school, we first develop your samadhi. Then when you listen to the words of wisdom, you know what they mean. The worldly approach is that you listen to the words of wisdom first, and you neglect developing your samadhi power. There's no way for you to understand. Okay? Yes. White.
It was a little bit from yesterday. I asked the question, was the 10 Paramitas developed simultaneously or separately? I don't know if you...
We never addressed that. I apologized. Maybe you should wait until next weekend. Bring it up again because it's a different context. Okay, I don't want you to get distracted. It's two entirely different approaches. Paramitas are specific knowledge and practices which are quite different from Chan. Chan is much more specialized. So it's easier to separate them at your level. Okay. YouTube has a question.
Chun asks, Master Xuan Zang is the creator of the Chinese consciousness-only school. Did he have the training method to produce high-level disciples?
I doubt it. Otherwise, consciousness school would have taken over Chinese Buddhism already. Okay. Yeah. So the proof is that later, even though he brought back consciousness only school from India, okay, he never really had much influence over the Chan school at all. Chan school is much more advanced than consciousness school, in my opinion. Okay, because none of them really understands those papers. And telling the giveaway is that Xuan Zang, great Master Xuan Zang, went to India, learned the Indian language, learned Mahayana sutras and shastras. And then what did he do? He engaged in debates. To me, it's a total waste of time. If you understand why you need to debate, you look at the person, no, you don't need to debate. It's just like trying to teach an elementary school kid advanced physics knowledge. That's not possible. So what's the point in debating? So that's why Xuan Zang still made a mistake in India. Okay, that he still engaged in debate, and that's total nonsense. To me, it's a total waste of time. Okay, so that's why even he brought back the consciousness only school, brought back those major teachings from India that were translated into Chinese and then later translated into English by some of the Master Xuanhua's disciples, scholarly disciples. I don't feel that Xuan Zang is really can understand. Okay. In fact, when you look at the history of Chinese Buddhism, I don't know much about Indian Buddhism, but in Chinese Buddhism, the key that you saw that the telltale sign is that when the Indian master Bodhidharma went from India to China, what did he bring? Did he bring consciousness only school? Did he bring Madhyamika school from India to China? No. He brought Chan. He says, this is what this country is missing. Okay? After all the paperwork from the papers and the translation from all the great masters, Chinese masters, Venerable Bodhidharma came along and he says, the best way for me to train and to make sure that the next patriarch really is able to understand Mahayana will be Chan-based. And since then, every single patriarch is a Chan expert until recently. Okay? So the Chan, in other words, the Chan school, the Chan training can produce higher level adherence than this consciousness only school or Madhyamika school and so forth. Even within the Chinese Chan, the 5 Chinese Chan schools, there's still the differences in level of disciples who are trained, who can be trained as well. So that's why I don't feel, I'm no scholar, I don't feel that it's worth, to me, it's worth, in my generation, it's worth looking into these schools. I'm going to stop you. In the future, some of you would be interested in studying the Madhyamika school and consciousness only school. That's a good thing for Mahayana in the West. But the core training is based in a Chan school. Okay. Because I look at the Chan descendants, they invariably have higher levels than the other schools, and that's why the patriarchs in China emphasized Chan training. All right, any other questions? That's why you see, that's why you look at the other countries, you know, like you look at Chinese Buddhism versus Indian Buddhism, you know, the Indians lost it, the Chinese got it, okay? And changed the game, they put emphasis on Chan training instead of doing debates. They don't debate. The Chan people come take a look at each other and they beat each other up very quickly and done. They're done already. There's no need to open their mouth. It's too slow. One look. If you still don't know, you know, then you can do things in Chan to test the other person. That's what Master Xuan disciples like to do. That's why I occasionally send my people to their way places and let them get attacked. And they came back and they tell me, Master, I was attacked. I said, yeah, it's good for you. So then they asked me, will you teach me how to defend myself and beat them up? I said, oh, it's easy, but I'm not going to teach you. Because it's low level, that's why you have to attack. Okay? Okay, now we're touching the spies. Okay, green.
Mô Phật bạch thầy, thằng Quang đó thuyết pháp 49 năm mà sao còn đi gặp Diêm Dương nữa thầy?
Cứ đi đâu? Nhắc lại cái câu cuối cùng.
Mô Phật bạch thầy, thằng Quang đó, thuyết pháp 49 năm mà thuyết tới một con ngựa cây đó, ổng kêu đó là qua sông, thầy con ngựa nó không phải bay qua sông được. Mà thuyết tới trên trời nó giải qua xuống đó, thầy là cái bằng cũng hay lắm rồi. Mà tại sao mà gặp tổ sư Đạt Ma nói ông đó mai mốt còn phải đi gặp Diêm Dương nữa, là câu đó không biết làm sao mình chưa tới hiểu cái câu đó. Mô Phật.
Okay. So he says, Sheng Guang, the second patriarch, before he became second Chinese patriarch, he had such eloquence that when he spoke the Dharma, he spoke sutras, he explained sutras. It was so wonderful to hear that the heavenly beings, the heavenly maidens would come down and offer flowers, to spread flowers. So you see the flowers suddenly appear in the skies and raining down flowers. Is that how marvelous it is? Okay, Sheng Guang was able to do that, and yet, he still had to go face King Yama, as the legend goes. So why is that? I said, eloquence is not necessarily wisdom. Eloquence is just a skill, okay, that comes. That is, whereas wisdom is inside. You cannot see it. Eloquence can be observed outside, but wisdom comes from the inside. Okay, and so just because you're eloquent doesn't mean you have real wisdom. Okay, so that's the difference. Difference is that, yes, for example, I'll give you an example that I witnessed myself. The old nun, that scary woman that I'm still scared of, that traumatized me for life. Heng Zhi, I think she's 90 years old. Yeah? She's a very eloquent Dharma speaker. Very, very eloquent. You listen to her, she has a certain charm in the way of expressing herself. You know, she's interesting, she's captivating, and she's very, very personal. He spoke Dharma in a very personal way. Okay? Very eloquent, if you will. But the monks, like Heng Shu, so they use. I was at CTTB and I saw Heng Shu, the old nun, speak Dharma, and then first it's just like the order is kind of funny. They let the women speak Dharma first, and then the monks would speak next. And my father would then, since he was a monk, so he would have to speak after Heng Shu. And he would come up and said, you know, after this, I'm not sure it's a good place for me to start speaking Dharma. Because how can you follow such an eloquent Dharma speaker? So the monks used to be scared of Heng Shu because she's so eloquent, okay? But then, I still remember this, but then it came Heng Shu's turn. Was he impressed? Nah. He's not as eloquent, but he knows. They both know each other. So he knows his level is higher than Heng Shu. So Heng Shu is scared of him, and he's not afraid of her. Okay? It's clear. So yes, she may be eloquent, but Heng Shu look at her, listen to her and said, you really don't know what you're talking about, do you? See that? So that's the same thing in Shen Guang. Shen Guang may be so eloquent because it's a skill he developed. Okay, that he can so that means he's also pretty good at debate as well. Okay, debate, eloquent, similar kind of skill set. But he lacks depth because he has no wisdom. Words are just words. Okay? Let me put it this way for you. You may be so eloquent, but what if I stop you from coming up with those eloquent words? What are you going to do? You cannot defend yourself. You understand? You are eloquent because you can think of an eloquent way to express yourself. What if a person like Master Xuan who's look at you and say, he inhibits you producing those eloquent thoughts. What are you going to do? You can't open your mouth. What are you going to do? That's the difference. So, Bodhidharma, Venerable Bodhidharma, listen to Shen Guang and say, oh, that's not bad. That's a good kid. He has a good background. He has a depth of prajna, wisdom already. Good potential. If he passes my test, okay, that's a good base for him to later develop his wisdom after I teach him. There's a good combination of that literary wisdom, book knowledge, and what he's lacking is samadhi power. So if he somehow manages to help Shen Guang develop samadhi power, you combine the two, Shen Guang has tremendous potential. So that's why Bodhidharma chose him as successor. Okay? Without samadhi, eloquence is useless. Question? White.
Is the Nagarjuna who did the middle way school, was he the same venerable that got the Avatamsaka from the dragons?
That's the same one. Yeah, same thing in India. They had a lot of deviant teachers who, especially the non-Buddhist religious leaders, a lot of them were developing some spiritual skills to impress their followers. So they manifest that to impress people. And some of them even resorted to tricks to trick their followers. So that's why, maybe that's why the Indian Buddhist masters decided to emphasize debating, okay, so that you can point out those subterfuges and so forth, and beat them to the punch intellectually. But the Chinese are a lot more advanced. The Chinese Taoists are different in that the Taoist samadhi is very high, much higher than the Indian externalists. So you can't out-debate the Taoists. You have to beat them up. So that's why that's why these schools never really thrived in a Chinese environment, because you study these schools and you keep on coming up with scholarly things. Which came first? They would ask back on slide 270, the Buddha, the Dharma, and so forth. Where does the Buddha Dharma begin? They have so many questions. This is scholarly things. The Taoists, they don't come to you with these types of things. They come and they simply attack you until you run away. They don't say anything. They beat you up. They're a lot more vicious. Then, words is just words. So what? If you debate, you can debate in circles. Okay? There's always yes, but in debates. There's no end to it. Okay? It's very easy. Yeah? No one can win in a debate because there's always a yes, but. On the other hand, okay, it's always. But when these Taoists come around and they use the spiritual powers to prohibit you from speaking, from moving, from breathing, what are you going to do? You can't even open your mouth. You can't even breathe. What are you going to do? So that's why they're a lot more. That's why the Chinese Buddhists put more emphasis on strength, on samadhi, on skills, instead of on debating, like the Indians or Tibetans. Questions? Green.
Mô Phật bạch thầy. Nói tới đâu rồi? Ông Diệu mình mới đây mà quên mau dễ sợ.
She forgot the question already.
Tâm Tạng đi thỉnh kinh.
Yeah.
Ông đi tới không biết bao nhiêu năm, mình cũng ấy nữa. Nói một cái đại cái thôi. Là ông đi thỉnh kinh, thỉnh tới không biết bao nhiêu năm là ông về đâu có kinh đâu thầy, chỉ hưu có 6 tiếng A Di Đà Phật ở trong cái cục đá đó, là cái đó là của ngài để đi qua bên Ấn Độ để thỉnh những cái kinh này, lấy không có kinh về mà lấy được 6 tiếng A Di Đà Phật. Chồng ở Dũng Tử ở Trung Quốc. Bởi vì ở Trung Quốc đó bây giờ người ta xài cái tiếng đó rất là mạnh mẽ, chứ không còn kinh, không biết là pháp thì cũng có nữa mà mình không có hiểu nhiều, chỉ biết 6 tiếng A Di Đà thôi. Là ông trồng được cái nhân đó, ông chỉ có thỉnh được bao nhiêu thôi đó. A Di Đà không biết phải không biết đúng không thầy?
No, not at all. That's wrong. Should not speak when you don't know, especially when you're a spy.
Như con không biết con mới hỏi cái câu này.
Yeah, yeah. And then don't say, just I don't know first. Don't say that. You don't know, say I don't know, I think. Okay? It's clear because you say this, say that, then it sounds like you know what you're talking about. You don't know what you're talking about. Okay? Here's what I learned from a Chinese that I observed. Okay? And you can see the difference between the Chinese and the Indian Buddhism. Okay? Remember the two major schools in India, Buddhist schools in India, the Madhyamika and then and the consciousness only school, Yogacara schools. So those schools are debate schools, okay, and they are basically equal in debate skills, okay. Yes, but. Okay. But then when Bodhidharma brought Mahayana to China, the Chinese don't debate, they just beat you up. So they had to come up with something else. Okay? So they had to come up with the samadhi development. Okay? Bodhidharma showed how Shengguang, how to develop samadhis. It's very interesting. You have to be there. For 9 years, he taught Shengguang how he can develop samadhi power. And that secret is not transmitted to our generation, unfortunately. Okay? It's not recorded. So far, so good? And so therein lies the tradition of Chinese Buddhism. A teacher is recognized in our world by the level of his pupils. So you notice, for example, that Master Wei Shan, the original founder of our Wei Yang school, Chan school, okay? His successor is Yang Shan, which is about pretty much the same level. We studied Yang Wei Shan already, and I will tell you Wei Shan is much higher than Master Xuan Zang. Okay? And we haven't had the chance to study Yang Shan yet, and I hope in the future, boys and girls, you could put your hands on those teachings. I'd love to look at them, okay? It would be fantastic addition to the English knowledge of the Wei Yang lineage. But you see, just from what the actions of Yang Shan, you see, same thing. When I look at Xuan Zang, who went over to China and learned how that he learned Indian Buddhism. He started engaging into Indian Buddhism through debates. I saw immediately. I said, no, that's not. I don't want that kind of teacher, because it's wrong. Chinese. I'm a Chinese kind of Buddhist researcher. So I look at that Xuan Zang style and say, no, that's not good enough for us. Okay, so I never took Xuan Zang seriously, and two factors: his translation aren't that good; they don't survive. It's right there. It shows right there that the level is not that good. The level of translation, even the language. The translation itself is not that good. That's why it really didn't survive. Not too many are widely disseminated. Okay? And number two, true to Chinese Buddhism, his descendants are who? You tell me. You know anyone who says, I'm from Master Xuan Zang's lineage? school? Huh? No one. Not worthy at all. Think about that. So in Chinese Buddhism, it's very clear. Okay, you can have eloquence, you can have fame, but ultimately, us professionals, you look at who's your descendants. What is your descendants level? That's what matters. Is the know-how transmitted to the next generation or not? Can the teacher, does she know how to transfer the knowledge or not? Because that's their jobs. You know that? You think that our teachers would teach us so that would give us, confer us the knowledge so that we can afford to let it get lost? Then we fail our teachers. Okay? We should actually say that I'm really not a descendant at all. Because you don't want your teacher to lose face because of you. Huh? Spy? You understand? You are your teacher's ambassador. If you do wrong, it's not your fault, it's your teacher's fault. That's Chinese. So that's why the Chinese is different. They make sure in the Chan school, in particular Chan school, is so clear to me that the great teachers are the ones that are followed by great pupils. Like the 6th Patriarch was followed by 22 eminent Chan masters. And under them sprang the 5 schools of Chan. There's no denying that the disciples have to be great enough so that their teachers are worthy to be known as great teachers. You can't escape that. YouTube question.
And Jane asks, was Zhang Shan enlightened?
Who? Who's enlightened?
Zhang Zhang.
Yin Zhang. Okay. Say it again.
Xuan Zang.
Very good. I think I'm beginning to be able to guess his Chinese. One more time. I'm kidding. It's okay. It's okay. This guy has a big sense of humor. He doesn't mind. That's why I call him Bumpkin Boy. Most people in cities would be so offended already. I'm giving up. This is how you treat me with no respect. I'm out of here. But Bumpkin Boy is different. He takes abuses. Xuan Zang. Zang. Okay, is Xuan Zang enlightened? Absolutely, he's enlightened. That's he picked up the language and the Buddhist principles within like 6 years. And he started out-debating the Indian masters. And clearly, many of those Indian masters were enlightened. No two ways about it. So Xuan Zang was definitely enlightened, but not that high. Anything else? Okay, so the consciousness-only school scholars came to ask the sixth patriarch difficult questions. Which came first, the Buddha or the Dharma? That's how stupid of a question it is. You see, it's truly scholarly. Okay? Where does the Dharma, Buddha Dharma begin? They don't even know, and they call themselves a Buddhism school? You have to ask where it began? Really? You don't have enough enlightened people to know how it began? They had so many questions. Next, 271, Sutra Text. So the Chinese are kind of cool. And pitying them, he said, students of the way, all thoughts of good and evil should be completely cast away. What cannot be named by any name is called the self-nature.
敏而谓曰：学道之人，一切善念、恶念，应当尽除，无名可名，名于自性。
This is how you have to learn when you become a big master like the Vietnamese. This is how you address cynicism and all these spies, you know. Commentary on 272. He says, if you want to cultivate the way, then you should not think of good or bad. Stop it. Implications are, don't think about right or wrong. Agree or disagree? If you think about good or bad, right or wrong, then you're not cultivating the way. It wipes out every single discussion possible, doesn't it? What's there to debate? You right, I'm wrong. I'm right, you're wrong. Huh? I'm good, you evil. You evil, you good, I'm evil. Beautiful. You should have been going, there should be like an applause. End of debate. So beautiful. Go ahead, Green. She forgot the question already.
Cái câu đó thì đúng rồi đó. Thì mình đừng có nghĩ thiện, có nghĩ ác. Là đâu là mình là ấy, rồi mình mà nghĩ thiện, nghĩ ác là người phàm phu quá rồi.
And you call yourself students of the way. You call yourself cultivators, and all you think of is good and bad. Okay, good and evil, right and wrong, all day. Now you better. You think you better. And the others are not as good as you are. It's such a joke, a farce. Yes, White.
Master, forgive me, I know I'm not very smart when it comes to this and often totally wrong. There I go, already, right and wrong. But it feels like a bit of a paradox to me. because to me, cultivating is inherently a good thing to do. And when I'm trying to cultivate, I think to myself, well, this is a good way to spend my time. This is a healthy thing to be doing. But how do I find, what do I think if thinking that what I'm doing is good is not the way? And if the question needs more explanation, let me know.
Very good. It's a fair question. Okay? Absolutely. When you start out, you need to discern between good or bad, good and evil. Or you have to discern right and wrong. This is what everyone has to learn, including our children. Okay? When we teach our children, we need to teach them about right and wrong, good and or evil. That's important concepts. And they need to be reinforced until they're mature enough, until they have enough wisdom to decide for themselves. But when they're young, they need to be told about black and white. They need to have reference points. And then they can choose later. They can choose, okay, I like evil. I'm going to do evil things. And we have to respect that. There's nothing wrong with that. It's their lives. You have to respect that. Okay? But as long as you taught them about right and wrong, good or bad, you did your job already. And later, it's their lives. They can choose whichever way they want to go. That's fine. Okay? Similarly, in Buddhism, you start out by learning about the right and wrong. Like, to be right is to give. Okay? To take is selfishness. Okay? There's something called good and evil. And there's a clear delineation between good and evil in Buddhism. Clear delineation. Okay? So those are similar to elementary knowledge that we need to impart to our children. When you start out, you need to have reference points. Okay? Those are critical. Those are important. And those are important enough for you. They're extremely helpful for you in order for you to reach a level of self-sufficiency called Stage Arhat. At that point, you're self-sufficient. You can fend for yourself. Below that, you can't. So the Stage Arhat is likened to like you mature, you graduate from college, from got a degree. Now you earn your place in society. Okay, that's important. If we didn't teach you about right and wrong, and good or bad initially when you first started, it's much harder for you to get there, to get to a level of self-sufficiency. Very similarly to the kids. If the parents fail to teach them about right and wrong, good or bad, they will make mistakes that can potentially give them harm in the long run. So far, so good? Okay? So see, there's a parallel between how we educate you, train you, and the same parallel that you can apply at home as well. Okay? That's critical. Okay? So So once you reach 4th stage Arhat, you have some real wisdom, albeit quite small. But you have enough wisdom that now it's the time for us then to respect your choices. Because your choices will be good choices for you. We respect that. Below that, you cannot be trusted. Similarly, you teach your children about right and wrong, good or bad, until they are mature enough to decide for themselves. Okay? Along the way, if they choose wrong, you have to respect that. Okay? But when they reach, you try to still guide them. But when they reach the level of self-sufficiency, like maturity or graduate from college and so forth, now you have to honor them because they earn the right to decide for themselves what their life's going to be. If they choose to be a good person, would be nice. If they choose to be let's stay away from politics. Would be so horrible. Okay, but you have to respect that. Okay, that's Buddhism. That's good parenting. So again, yes, right now, it's important to learn about good and bad right now, okay? But once you get past 4th stage Arhat, when you get to 4th stage Arhat, when you're mature enough, you have real wisdom now. Now you can discern, okay? Now your judgment is dependable. You're no longer confused, okay? For you to become enlightened, you have to cast out all thoughts of good or bad. Otherwise, you won't make it. And that's why you notice the people who are dressed like me, who talk about good and bad, okay? They are not enlightened. It's proven right here in this teaching by the 6th Patriarch. It says, students of the way. Okay? All thoughts of good and evil must be cast out completely. I'm adding in between parentheses for you because this great monk here, the only purpose of him to open his mouth is to help us become enlightened quickly through the certain teaching. So, in answer to your question, yes, initially, follow the good and bad. And you're not sure, you should ask your good know advisor to help you discern what's good and bad, because sometimes it's very confusing. It's just the way it is, okay, to you. But once you get a certain level, eventually, next level of instructions would be cast them out. These people are worthy enough to come and dare question Master Huineng. He looked at them and said, yeah, all of you are pretty good for you to come here and challenge me. Let me help you. Okay? Does it help? Any other questions? Yes.
Well, I was just going to say that you said when you reach 4th stage Arhat, you can start thinking about this stuff. But then you also said that the people that came to see him were kind of stupid. So why would he explain that to them? I don't know if they were for Stage Arhat, but why would he explain it to them if they weren't?
Maybe it's for us. Who cares about those losers? Huh? I love it when he says this. I say, wow, that's so cool. Now I can imitate him and pretend to be a great master. Children, you want to study the way. You must completely cast out thoughts of good or bad. You see, sounds familiar? See that? Because the great master said so. Now it's no longer my words, but his words. I don't have to be a patriarch anymore. I just go to patriarch. Whereas the other idiots are quoting themselves. They say, oh, this is right, this is wrong, this is good, this is evil. Yeah, you're still a loser. We could be evil, we could be good, you're still a loser. Because you don't understand cultivation and pass yourself to be a cultivator. You're not fooling anyone. So far, so good? Does it help? This is meant for you to recognize a good no advisor. The good no advisor has cast out all thoughts of good or bad. Those are the people you want to follow and study and learn from. Yes, Kath.
Quick question. So if the good non-advisor cast out the good and evil, how can they identify good and evil? I mean, how can they tell that what is going on is evil or good if they cast it out? Or maybe I'm misinterpreting the lecture.
Okay, it's a fair question. Unfortunately, I'm not a good no advisor. I can't answer you. How does a good no advisor know? Okay? Yeah. I'm not a good no advisor. What I do is I imitate, I repeat the words of good no advisor. That's what I do. You ask them, they never think of me as they're good no advisor. Ask that woman. I told her today, you know, in America, white women, I read this report, this point like a long time ago. When they go to a place where it's dark, they don't feel safe. They hate it. Why? Because this woman keeps on turning the lights off in my dining hall when I eat lunch. So people go and notice, they walk down the stairs and they go into the dark areas where the tea station is and the altar Maitreya Bodhisattva there. It's totally dark. It's so dark. So you can see that people like, they run down the stairs, the kids run down the stairs, and then you can see the kids slowing down. You know? So I said very nicely, I said, because we all scared of this woman. So I said, you know, the white women, it's not me, okay, it's the white women. They come to a dark place, they don't like it, they don't feel safe. You know what she said? Okay, I hear you. We keep it dark until white women come to the temple. I rest my case. So whether I quote the patriarch or some sort of market researcher, it doesn't matter. She'll fight me tooth and nail anyway. YouTube has a question.
Brady asked, Master, isn't it true that to progress to a fourth stage Arhat, you must know already what is right and what is wrong?
Yes. Again, my point, Brady, is that for you to get the fourth stage Arhat, it's a lot faster if you stay on the right side of the tracks. Much faster. You stay on the bad side of the tracks, the evil side of the track. Yes, there's a track for evil side as well. But it's a lot slower, a lot more painful, a lot more suffering. Okay? When you are lucky enough to find a good no advisor, that good no advisor typically will try to keep you on the good side of the tracks, the good tracks, because it's faster. That's all. Okay? It is possible for evil people to certify the fourth stage Arhat. Very possible. Okay? But not too many. Yes, Green.
Mô Phật bạch thầy, người ta đạt được tứ quả A La Hán đó thầy, còn có phiền não không thầy?
Do they still have affliction when they get the fourth stage Arhat? I don't know. Why don't you find out for yourself? Why we keep on gossiping about something that, say, because the more I tell you about these people, then you say, I know everything there is to know. What's the point of me getting there? I'm challenging you. Get there for yourself and see if it's for real or not. Many people have. Why don't you? Yes, White. See, when we talk about gossiping, it's like I can't move from one slide. When I talk about principles, I can fly through 100 slides in one night. Yes.
Yesterday we were talking about skillful means. Does this have anything to do with skillful means in that you might have to do some things that could be considered bad to teach other people?
School for what?
Skillful means.
Oh, skill in means, not skillful means. Skill in means or expedience. Again, may I defer? Let me go back and defer to next week and do some research first. Only prepare for Chan tonight. Okay, anyone else? All right. What cannot be named by any name is called the self-nature. Okay? Again, what he's talking about is that you guys keep on using words and ask me what you think are hard questions. They're not hard questions. They're stupid questions. But he's too polite. He's very Chinese. The Chinese of the caliber of Master Xuan, who have to be sometimes politicians. Okay, so they don't go. They're a lot more polite. They don't use harsh words to people who are not their disciples. Please Please understand this. Okay, these people typically scold their disciples, but they're very polite towards non-disciples. You're witnessing it right here. Okay, they quote marketing research instead of saying, "Why do you keep on the hell? Why the hell do you keep on fighting me every single damn time?" Okay, no, they don't talk like that. You know. So he says. He says here. You guys are stuck by words. As long as you must express everything with your mouth, okay? You have to agree with your mind, and then you are hopeless. You have no real wisdom, okay? And by the way, the reason for that is because if you have wisdom, then you understand that it's beyond words. Words cannot express what that is, that wisdom is. And that's why you have to experience it yourself. You can ask me, by the way, you can ask me as many questions you like. I assure you, I can answer you I can give you as many answers you ask me. You can still not know fully what cannot be named by any name. That's why the only way for you to know what it is for you to follow the instructions and get there yourself. Then you know what it is. Only idiots would keep on commenting about states of these enlightened beings, because they are conning you. If they have real wisdom, they would not bother, would not even try, because it's not possible to talk about it. If you buy that, then you see why I don't think much of the consciousness-only school people or Madhyamika schools, because he's stuck on concepts, on words, on fighting. On thinking they're superior, they're so special. They're not. So inferior. Remember? I told you, you come here. What are you? I don't know what you were before, but once you get here, what happened to you? You become zero. Oh, everything you knew before would be a hindrance to your path. That's what I learned. But unfortunately for me, I went to a Chinese temple where people were terrified of me instead of having the guts to tell me I was zero. Because they still saw something in me that they wanted. You understand? They saw something in me that they didn't have. I saw nothing in you that I want. Is that clear? (273) Sutra Text. This non-dual nature is a real nature. And it is within the real nature that all teaching doors are established. At these words, you should see it for yourselves.
无二之性，是名实性。于实性上建立一切教门，言下便须自见。
All right. 274 commentary. The non-dual nature is a real nature. Okay? Remember? Just before that, he said, you should stop discerning between good or bad. Cut it out. Now that you have some real wisdom, you still have these bad habits that makes you feel justified in discerning good or bad. So if a kid steals a teddy bear from you, don't get afflicted. It's neither good or bad. It just is stolen. Okay? If a kid makes noises and runs around, there's nothing wrong with that. It just is. You see that? Yeah, that's why typically you go to the temple and the temple, oh, the kid is too noisy. Oh, he's running around. He's not respecting the triple jewel at all. It's nothing to respect. It's neither respectful nor disrespectful. It's neither good nor bad. It's just a kid. Beat up on the mother. Or the father. But he's innocent. I'm kidding. Don't beat up on anyone, please. I'm joking with you to illustrate the fact that good and bad is dual. That's why the Master says, if you want to have real wisdom, stop discriminating, opposites, good or bad, black or white, right and wrong, okay? That, because your mind is still discriminating, okay? Noisy and quiet, okay? Beneficial and unbeneficial. That's winning, losing. Okay? That's not real wisdom, because your mind is still discriminating. The real wisdom is a kind of wisdom that is non-dual, meaning that it no longer sees discrimination. Okay? If you sit there, it hurts. You say, so what? Okay? Where's the hurt? It hurts, so what? It feels good, so what? You stop discriminating. Okay? It is what it is. You don't need to label it. If you don't discriminate, then your mind, then you have some wisdom. Yes, white.
Sometimes when I get really caught up in my own mind and I'm focused on, doing one thing specifically, like, let's say like doing one thing good, and specifically like, let's say like trying to not do the evil, but only doing the good. Sometimes, at times of weakness, the bad prevails when I'm so focused on doing the good. And I think it's because the good in me is too charged, so that the bad kind of needs to come up. But then when I give it up and try to, stop discriminating, I feel like I make the right decision a lot easier.
Yeah, it's not that something you can do right away. I'm just only teaching you this to help you understand there's a world there where the world of so-called wisdom, where people no longer discriminate, because those people have real wisdom. But in our world, we need to discriminate. I tell you, I discriminate right away. What do I discriminate? Money and no money. Okay? You can talk all you want, but I admit to you, money is nice. No money is bad. Okay? Yes, there's something called reality. Okay? Your kids is starving. You cannot say, it's no starving, it's no food. It's no starving, no food to you, but your kid is still starving. Make no mistakes about that. Okay? So that's in general. But in your particular case, don't worry about it. It will happen naturally. It's not something that can be programmed, can be fully explained. It's like a discovery. It's kind of fun, in a sense, where you are right now, as you continue to follow the instructions. Don't think so much about it. See, don't make a mistake of thinking that you understand. Okay? Your understanding is an attachment. You have to let go of that. It's about, Buddhism is about applying what you know, okay, the best way you can, okay? In particular, this is where the good no advisor's instructions come in real handy, because those instructions are designed to help you free yourself from what's binding you. It cannot be explained in words. Okay? So that's why if these people, if these externalists, these Buddhist disciples, were to really have respect and faith in Master Huineng, they should have been enlightened right there already. Okay? Because that's certain teaching right there. But they weren't. So that's why I'm trying to remind you that for you to encounter a good no advisor who deemed you worthy enough to open his mouth and say, hey, you should do this. Don't take it lightly. That's all. That moment only. That's all. That's all that matters. The rest is just for fun, for discussion, for sharing, for sharing over a cup of tea, a bowl of soup, and so forth. YouTube has a question. Okay. Too late for YouTube question.
Cordelia asks, Master, I meditate to stop thinking, but I find my thought running the most when I listen to Dharma. Should I meditate to stop these thoughts too?
No, That's natural. Don't worry about it. See? That's called instruction. If you do that, then things will work out. What I didn't have when I was practicing on my own is I had all those questions. They haunt me for years. Okay, and I wish that I could ask anyone, like someone like Master Xuan and said questions like that, like yours, so that they stop haunting me. They keep on coming back, and haunt me because I didn't have the answer. I wasn't sure of the answer. So my last resort was to experiment. Since I couldn't have the answer, I tried them all and see which one worked. So that's why it took me a long time to figure things out. But then the advantage is that now I look at you and look at your questions and say, I've been through that myself. So I can have more empathy for you. Yes, Christian.
I'm a little bit curious. I don't know. Can a priest be a good knowing advisor?
What?
Can a priest be a good knowing advisor?
Absolutely. Anyone can be a good knowing advisor if they have wisdom. It's funny. Now we bring it up. It might be. You might want to plug your ears. But I have tremendous respect for John Paul II. Not for what he said, but what he did. You know what he do? What did he do? I don't know all the details, but I heard that he founded a college in the Vatican where he listen to this, depict the best priests or fathers from all over the world and brought them to this college where he oversees their training. That is so Buddhist. Okay? And it's fascinating because learn from the Catholics. Okay? Take the example. Even John Paul II, who to me is one of the greater popes in the history of Catholicism. You find out yourself. In a few thousand years, you look back and say, wow, he is one of the best. He revolutionized the system. He made so many significant changes, I heard, okay? And he went against the grain. He's the one who has enough power to say, we're gonna do it my way. You don't like it? I get rid of you. Okay? Not like the politicians to benefit themselves, but to rectify the system. So what did he do? He did that. He also created a college where he trained the future leaders of Catholicism, handpicked them. That's impressive to me. That's wisdom. How many popes in the history of Catholicism was able to do that? So you have this crop of future leaders of the church who will be so beneficial to the church. Okay? I might become Catholic in the future if I found such a good advisor. Seriously. Okay? And then what did he do? on his wake, he left behind a caretaker, Benedict II. See, I do keep an eye on the good people. Benedict II as a caretaker to allow the kids to mature. Isn't that cool? That's wisdom, my friend. Catholicism has potential. Something you can look forward to. Don't come over to our side. Okay? We don't invest in the future at all. Okay? We're too busy building temples. That's what I admire about John Paul II. Grooming the future leaders. It's fantastic. That man has vision. Agreed.
Cái đạo tôn giáo đó là những người đó là những người Bồ Tát phải không thầy? Hoặc là có khác biệt hơn không?
Benedict II is fourth stage Arhat. He's the disciple of John Paul II. Okay? Yeah. So that tells you John Paul II is much higher than Benedict II. I can't tell you, I don't want to tell you what level John Paul II is, but out of respect for him and out of admiration of what he did, okay, he did a lot of great things that Benedict II doesn't hold a candle to it. It's very good for Catholicism. It's very good for him, for you, yeah. Should revere him. Should follow his teachings. It's good for you. Okay? One of the best things that happened to humanity. Okay, he has influence over 1 billion followers. We need to respect that. How many people watched our videos last night? 40? We losers, okay? Anyone else? See, we gossip. We end up gossiping. You guys are so bad. When I talk about gossiping like that, everyone, oh, go on, go on. What is John Paul II's level? Yeah.
As I want to add, the Catholicism is really, or Catholic really relying a lot on words and theology and theory. Is being as a Catholic for many, many years, so for over 40 years, I experience is Catholicism, going to church is really headache. Is a lot of intellectual going on, going to mass, listening to sermon or preaching from the priest. I don't see that, like, maybe perhaps there is some level of opening wisdom, but I don't see. Maybe it's my different journey. I rarely experience myself had any cultivate on wisdom. It's still like 100% like the priest will telling the gospel, interpretation on the gospel of Jesus, and whereas Chan is beyond words, have to be beyond words. Yeah.
YouTube has the answer to that.
No, I was just going to say that 275 people watched last night's Avatamsaka Sutra lecture.
Hallelujah! Praise the Lord. Okay. Whatever it means. 275 people? Really? Really? We reached 275? I thought it's 21,000. That's a different number? Hey, we need to talk about, monetizing it. Huh? Discuss with Jeannie and the better half. I mean, what is it? I heard that we have like 1,500 subscribers and 21,000 visits or something like that. That's a huge number. So now YouTube has, now you can make money. I said, say what? My ears already perked up. Say what? Now we can buy some real video and audio equipment, like those Sony PTZ cams, $10,000 a hit each. Yeah, finally. Can we discuss it offline? I guess it's not cool to talk about money after that comment about words and wordless. I feel so unworthy. Yes, White.
And Master, for the young YouTube audience, don't forget to encourage them to like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications when we go live.
Oh, you heard him. Repeat that, please. I don't know what he's talking about. Sorry.
Do we have an option to make donation on YouTube?
We can discuss offline, Master, but we'll get a script.
You have a script?
Like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications.
Ring the bell notifications, please. Let's make a new movement. Mahayana movement. Okay? Instead of politics, let's do Mahayana movement. Excellent. Okay. Again, my comment about the last comment is that it sometimes you have to look at who's listening. If you have to take care of your children, then you have to do things that the children can understand. So it's perfectly okay. Okay, to me, there's nothing wrong with expressing in a scholarly way, because that's what the scholars expect from us. It's okay. I just don't have time for that. That's all. And you feel free to do that. It's a good thing. And I challenge you. If you scholars really feel you are superior, then demonstrate it, prove it, that you truly have superior wisdom. Okay? See if you can make me stop breathing. Stop my breath. That comes from wisdom. Yes, okay. At these words, you should see it for yourself. You see, it's amazing. Because over the years, people asked me so many difficult questions. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to answer them. So I said, why don't you get there and see for yourself? It turns out to be, mimicking the 6th Patriarch's words. Okay? Beyond words. So that's why you need to see it for yourself. You can verify for yourself. You don't need us. Okay? But you can use us to confirm your knowledge. But you should see it for yourself first. All right? Next, 275. We have 10 more minutes, and then we do a transference. Hearing this, they all made obeisance and asked him to be the master.
诸人闻说，总皆作礼，请示为师。
Commentary on number 276 from Master Xuan. Hearing these words, the assembly realized that all their thoughts had been bound up in good and evil, and they were greatly ashamed. They bowed down before him and said, "From now on, we'll be different. Please, great master, be our teacher." Is this the end? Oh, that's the end. Cool. Okay. We have 10 more minutes. Okay. Now, that's what Master YongHua felt. He says that these people bought into Venerable Huineng's teachings. Okay, and that's very interesting. That you see, to be a good no advisor is not just words. It's right here in front of your eyes. This story tells you that Master Huineng, when he said those words, he said, you should stop thinking about good and evil. Get rid of those thoughts immediately, completely. And it worked. Okay? These people immediately accepted that. Okay? That comes from Master Huineng. It didn't come from those people by themselves. So they registered it. See that? If you debate, in contrast, if you were to debate with them and say, hey, what's the difference when the Buddha came, or whether the Buddha came first or the Buddha Dharma came first, or when it began, when the Buddha Dharma began. So if he were to start debating with them and demonstrating to them that he knows more than they do, okay, would that have helped? Because he's basically another debater that these people are used to dealing with. That's all. Another debater. Yes, but. That's all. Another scholarly meeting, a scholarly debate. That's all. Whereas he simply said, his instructions are clear. He didn't engage on debating about knowledge. He didn't give them what they were looking for. Instead, he told them, stop it. Stop thinking about it. See, right there. Therein lies the secret of the good no advisor. He gives you instructions on how to get rid of your confusion. Number one. So again, let me remind you, okay? For a good no advisor to deign, to be willing to spend the time to say anything about you and talk to you, okay? Please don't take it lightly, because if you don't act on those instructions, you cannot replenish your blessings. Is it clear? For the good no advisor to say, cross your legs, and you don't do it, and you keep on fighting it, you are not generating enough blessings to receive the next set of instructions. Do you get it? You stay where you are, year after year after year after year. Because it's like if he says, go that way, then you see clearer. And you say, I like it here. Why do I have to move? Why do I have to change? How do you expect him to continue to tell you what to do? So I learned from bitter experiences, that I was so hungry for instructions that when the instructions came, I was so grateful. I said, oh my God, this is so wonderful. I don't get it, but I try to do the best way I could, best way I can. Okay? And that's why I'm sharing it with you. That don't take those instructions lightly. It's a tremendous gift. And if you have the blessings, okay, then you meet someone like Master Huineng, who can talk to you, give instructions like that, and this is what happened to you immediately. They bought into it immediately, and they said, all these years of my life, spending on pursuing all these things, okay, thinking I can figure things out by myself, it's a waste of time. Please teach me instead of what I need to do next. That's what they said. Please be our teacher. These are superior individuals. Who chose the wrong path. Eventually, they met with the great master and they recognized him. Because Master Huineng had that kind of intellectual might. Do not think that these monks are not intellectuals at all. They're very mighty intellectuals. They can out-debate you so quickly before you realize it. And when you debate them, you open your mouth, you sound like an idiot to us professionals. That's a proof right there, folks, that these intellectual scholars met with the great master and they were impressed immediately. No debate. Can you see the difference between intellect and wisdom now? It's right there. Illustrated in a very short description of the encounter between a group of scholars, okay, and the great master. Isn't that fantastic? Questions, comments? Okay. You have no questions, then let's stop here tonight because it's not enough time to start on chapter 9. We finished chapter 8. Thank you all. Let's do rebirth transference, excuse me, where we can transfer the blessings here that we generated today in our practice to help these people behind us go to the Pure Land.